Kate Burton. I'm a commentator, very fortunate to be part of this Aramco series of golf tournaments. And we began in Singapore, steamy, sweaty Singapore. And Golf Saudi and Aramco were very pleased to announce this panel of discussions, this panel that we have here, that will soon be joining us here on stage, where we explore various topics of conversation focused on women's sport and women's empowerment. We began talking about jobs for women in the golfing industry in Singapore. In Florida, we were joined by leading businesswomen to tap into the mindset of a champion. And today, we are looking at inspiring the next generation. Golf on the Ladies European Tour, there really is no better time to be a woman in golf. 30 tournaments, 21 different countries, and over 35 million euros in prize money. It is an excellent time to be a female athlete, but how do we keep that going? How do we inspire the next generation to want to play the game that is proving so popular, as we can see, as there are so many of you here today? Well, to answer that question and many more, and we do hope that as an audience that you will put your hands up as well and ask any question, because we would love to hear from you. I'm delighted to welcome our panel. And so can we please walk up to the stage, please, Mia Baker, our content creator, who's going to come and join us. Good morning, Mia. Come and have a seat. Also joining us is Lauren Spray, the Women and Girls Manager for England Golf. Put your hands together for Lauren. We are thrilled to have Marilyn Okoro, an Olympic bronze athlete. That's from the 2008 Beijing Games. Track and field athlete. What a pleasure to have Marilyn join us. And finally, Alice Lowe, the Regional Development Officer at the Golf Foundation. Morning, Alice. Mia, I am liking the vibe of this room. This is a good crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so many people in this room. A lot more than I expected, actually.
Yep, young and old. And we're going to explore all conversations related to women in golf, women in the golfing industry, how to inspire the next generation. And Mia, why don't we start with you? Because you have more followers on Instagram than Georgia Hall, who's a major champion, then Minjee Lee, who's the world number 7, also a major champion and LPGA Tour winner. And you only picked up the game 3 years ago, and you're not a professional golfer. So does anybody follow Mia on Instagram here? Okay, oh, good. Well, very good.
Not many people, considering.
Well, if not, well, no, you can't fit 176,000 followers into this room, but that's how many followers you have. And Mia, tell us, as a young woman, what made you choose golf and to embrace Instagram and social media in the way that you have, and what have been the massive wins from it?
Firstly, I'd probably say I shouldn't have really more followers than some of the best players in England. Like, that is something that I think we need to improve better in the game, especially with like female athletes. It's much harder for them to kind of be seen and known by people. But I think doing things like this, I think, with Aramco doing such incredible events, getting more people here, is actually going to help elevate the game. It's going to help showcase how brilliant these girls are. My role is probably to bridge the gap between someone starting, so like you guys at the front, when you pick up a golf club for the first time, you will become golfers. Have you ever played golf before, picked up a club?
Yeah, can we have a show of hands if you've ever played golf?
No, picked up a club.
Oh, you have, yeah.
Who's picked up a club? What?
Okay, you got 2 to convert this morning.
Okay, you're all golfers. And you're going to be good. Because I would say if you start now, and when you're older, you'll be better than like all of the boys. So you should definitely start. I started 3 years ago. And I had injuries, so I used to play a lot of sport. And I thought, you know what, never going to play sport again, that's it, done. And then I found golf, and it's kind of a strange story because I went to start playing and I came across physical barriers to entry to the game, one of which is golf clothing, which I am wearing now. But yeah, I went to pro shops and I couldn't buy anything just because I was a female. And I was like, this is crazy, we're in the 21st century and I can't start a sport because of my gender, which is wild to me. So I started working behind the scenes with a lot of golf brands, and then, fast forward to now, I started posting lots of videos of my swing, getting better, because you were either professional online or there was nothing to inspire you as a new golfer, especially as a female golfer. So I kind of wanted to be the inspiration that I wanted to see for myself.
Lauren, on this subject, a very good golfer, +1 handicapper. Lauren's with England Golf. But Lauren, you're nodding because you can attest to what Mia is saying about where we've come to, but also what we can be excited about. And you must be very excited in your role at England Golf about what's happening. And tell us a little bit about that.
In terms of, I've been in my role for 9 years now, so from where I started and where we've got to, we're still long way to go, but more women are coming into the sport. We're at the biggest in terms of, we've got over 100,000 women in affiliated membership, and we're continuing to grow. We've even grown in the last 6 months, which is great to see. A lot more women in academies, learning the game, which is a real strong positive. I think it's just about what you're saying in terms of having role models out there, that if you can't see it, you can't be it, can you? So you need to see somebody who looks like you, who resonates with you, to be able to have the confidence to think, actually, that sport is something that I want to try, and go forward and go with a group of girls and go and have a bit of a giggle, because a lot of the time that's what we do. So.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a super sociable game for those of us that play that would know that. Alice, why do you play? Why did you take up the game? What do you love about it?
Good question. It was my grandma that got me into it, actually. So unlike a lot of young people, a female role model in the family who played, and she does still play 9 holes of golf at the age of 86, so doing very well. And yeah, I did a lot of sports when I was younger, but golf really stuck. I think I just sort of fell in love with it quite early on.
Yeah. There's many reasons to take up the game. Marilyn, we hope we're going to convince you. But when you were younger, you focused on another sport, track and field, where you had huge amounts of success. And was that an obvious sport for you?
So I focused on lots of sports. I played a game called lacrosse for the first time, which suited me because I could just run everywhere. But my PE teacher thought we'd hone it in with athletics. And that stuck for me because it was accessible, it wasn't too expensive, and I had an incredible first coach who just believed in me and made me believe in myself. And so that's where it took off from. So I landed with the 800 and 400, not because I'm just indecisive, but a lot of those team sports and the start-stop really lent itself to speed endurance, and I was kind of a power athlete who could just keep going through the burn. So that's how that started for me.
Ladies, do you agree that sport has been one of the best things that's ever happened to you? And that it is so important, especially as we emerge from COVID, whatever reason you might play golf or tennis or track and field, but the mental well-being of being able to get out and to enjoy that fresh air, no matter what you're doing, is crucial today. I know we've explored the mental well-being. We talked about it earlier, Lauren and Alice, but the work that you're doing at the Golf Foundation, tell us a little bit more about that and the crucial work that you're doing there.
Yeah, so we actually have a program that's currently called Unleash Your Drive, and it's a real push to try and get more golf into schools, but also using it as a tool to improve young people's mental well-being. So we actually, within our schools programs that we roll out across both primary and secondary schools, we encourage the lessons to not only provide really great golf skills and try and encourage young people to get into golf, but it's how that can also, you use tools to actually improve your mental toughness, which you can take into other areas of your life as well. So that can be around emotional control, focus, concentration, and actually these skills that you can learn through golf can really benefit you in so many other areas of your life, beyond school and into work and other social settings. So, yeah.
Marilyn, that's certainly key for you, isn't it? Because you can't be a superstar track and field athlete forever. At some point, the body does give up, and there are younger athletes that will come onto the main stage. But it's helped you in your role, and tell us more about that.
What do you mean? Absolutely. The one guarantee in sports, especially track and field, is one day you won't do your sport anymore. And I think the hardest thing is it's so uncertain when that moment will come. Every older athlete would just tell you, you'll know when it's time, and that's true. But for the most part, you are driven, champion mindset, just drive. I'm going to run forever. For me, 2 years ago, I hung up my spikes, and it was really, really difficult. But there were lots of transferable skills that running had given me and the athletics community had given me, which I now am pouring into my next career. I didn't realize how much of a coping mechanism my running and my sport was, because actually life off the track was a mess, but I had something to focus. I had something to keep me motivated. I had something to get me up every day, and that drive and that focus. But also, most importantly, I had really key people in my life and a community that running gave me.
Yeah, community and a great coach. Two topics I would love to touch on. But firstly, with the audience, can you put a hand up if you play golf? Okay, well, we've got a great golfing audience. And would anybody like to, shout out why you play golf? Do you play golf for the social element? If you do, pop your hands up. Socially? Okay, very good. How about just for winning? The serious battle out there. Oh, okay, we've got some feisty golfers here as well. Who plays to go to the 19th hole? Yeah, okay, definitely. I recognise a few of those hands going up, that's for sure. But do you all agree that the mental benefits of playing the game, and I can see people nodding around the audience, that there were so many enjoyable aspects of not just golf, but any sport, whether it's tennis or track and field. That's quite intense. I don't think I'd be particularly good at that. Golf seems a little bit of a much easier walk. But embracing those mental benefits, because Lauren, are we struggling this day and age as much as we're celebrating what Mia does, which is terrific. And I seriously encourage you all to check out Mia on Instagram, because not only does she wear some great brand of clothing, but she also shares some excellent golfing tips if you're looking to improve as well. So you can learn a lot from Mia and her golfing journey. But when we see, and as a parent of two teenagers, if I say, get off your phone, go outside, play in the garden, there are so many challenges to getting young people to take up the game in this day and age.
In terms of, there's lots of opportunity, isn't there? There's lots of ways that we choose to spend our leisure time. So I guess we're in a digital age, aren't we now, where everybody has a mobile. I think I got a mobile when I was about 13, 14, and it couldn't do half the stuff that it can do now. It was just texting. It didn't have the internet and all that sort of stuff. So we're very much like, we live our lives through social, sharing those experiences. Like, I'm sure there'll be people posting from today, and it's almost that FOMO, isn't it, of like, look where I've been today, and you want to almost experience with them. So the opportunity to share what you are doing and get into the lives of what you're experiencing, what we're all experiencing, it helps the community feel a bit more connected, even though we might not necessarily always be together. And I guess as well the fact that there are other people going through the same experiences, so there's a sort of warmth with that as well, that you know that you're not alone.
Alice, looking at the school children that join us this morning, this is a handful from the local schools. Can you shout out which school do you guys go to? Hayden Abbey. Okay, good. So not far from here. What is happening at the grassroots level locally here near Hemel Hempstead that can get these young children excited about taking up the game?
Yes, so we are able to work with schools. The Golf Foundation is a national charity. A huge part of our work is to actually engage with local schools, either get you a link with a PGA coach from a local golf club who can come in and actually support you and run some sessions, or we can train your teachers up to be able to deliver golf within PE sessions that you do at school. And there is... Yeah, I'll speak to you afterwards. But we use Golfway equipment, which is adapted golf equipment, which is safe to use within a school environment, indoors or outdoors. And there is then a pathway through to a lot of school games competitions. So currently across the country, I think there's nearly 3,000 schools that actually take part in a golf competition at a festival as part of the school games events. And we support the schools and the school games organisers locally to make that happen, basically. So yeah, there is the pathway there.
Yeah, carrying out very important work, because golf has been seen and is still seen as being quite an elitist sport that is expensive to play. So what is England Golf and the Golf Foundation doing to combat that, to make it a game for all that is more inclusive?
So we run lots of different initiatives and things like that, campaigns, programs. So one of them is called Girls Golf Rocks, which me and my colleague Jade, who's also in the room with me today, deliver that program. It's targeted at girls who are 5 to 18, who have never played other sport of golf before. So it's girls-only groups as well, because some girls don't want to play alongside other boys and feel a bit more comfortable when it's in a girls-only setting. Generally at golf clubs, unfortunately, there aren't that many girls that do play, so getting them together in a girls group makes them feel a bit more comfortable. Again, it's sort of £40 for 6 hours of coaching. You get a little goodie bag with some polo shirts and things like that. And it's just that first step into golf. From a women's side of things, there's opportunities around getting out onto the golf course with Get Into Golf and Women on Par, and we provide all like free packs and campaign materials, digital assets, things like that to support golf clubs. But it's not necessarily about putting everything on for free. Having a nominal fee for people to invest and buy into the sport and commit to is important. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it's about what's representative of your local community and where your golf club is. So I think the beauty with golf as well is that we do have quite a diverse set of communities as well, and golf clubs that sit in within them. So there will be something out there that will fit what you're looking for. Sometimes it might just take you a little bit of time to find it, but there are a lot of golf facilities across England. There's 1,800 that affiliate to England Golf, but there's many more out there in terms of pitch and putts, crazy golf, lots of things like that.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because has anybody here tried Top Golf? Anybody? Yeah, okay. That's proving to be very popular, certainly globally. Mia, I know you've been to Top Golf. Why did you choose golf of all the sports that you could have done?
I had a knee injury,
Okay.
so I probably couldn't do many other sports. But what I would say is joining a sport is what's going to help you make friends, because I think in this day and age, it is so difficult to meet people. You leave school, uni, and then you go into the big world, and then you get your little place that you rent, and it's like, right, where are my friends?
Yeah.
And if you don't have something like sport, then it's so difficult to find a place to go. And I think that's what brings you joy to your life, because loneliness is horrible, and no one wants that. And that's why I'd recommend not just golf, any sport, to get involved and try and be a part of some sort of community somewhere, because it will increase your happiness like twofold.
Yeah. And are you seeing that clubs are evolving as well? I'm very fortunate to be a member of St George's Hill in Surrey, and I've been there for many, many years. And I do see the club is changing, but it used to be very much of the male domain, and you had to get changed and take your spikes off if you wanted to go into the bar afterwards. And hoodies, my God, I'd be dragged out of the club back through the hedges into the car park. But it is changing, and it is becoming a lot more friendly. Are you finding that, our wonderful audience that is here, are you finding that your golf club is more embracing of women? Yes, or are there any instances? I played Muirfield 20 years ago, and there was a sign when I arrived that said, no dogs, no women, in that order. Thankfully, it hosted the AIG Women's Open last year, and has changed and evolved a great deal since that time, which has obviously had to. But do you still think there's work to be done? Is there? Okay. And what we would love to do, if we have a microphone, are there any questions or any observations from our audience that you might like to ask our panel about women and girls taking up the sport? Yeah, there's one lady here. Yeah, if you put your hand up. As we're keen to hear from you and get this conversation going. Morning.
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm a member at Sundridge Park Golf Club based in Kent, and one of the things one of the things I find is that I'm probably the youngest out of the women that are playing. So a lot of the women that compete, they're kind of aging out, and it's a struggle for my club to attract more younger women to play. In terms of the men's section, I don't even think they have to make much of an effort. The men have bought into golf, but the women are kind of, I don't know. They're not, I don't know whether they're not keen, but they don't seem to want to commit to obviously joining up to clubs at the moment. What's been your experiences, or what feedback have you received as to why, I guess, women of, let's say, under 40 are not kind of committing to clubs or competing.
Did you come through an academy?
Yeah, I came. Yeah, so I chose to join my club because they had an academy. So that was for me, it was the fastest route to kind of play on a course, start competing, versus taking lessons at a Top Golf.
Yeah. No, I mean, academies have been a welcome introduction, haven't they, to golf clubs? It certainly worked quite well at my golf club. But as Mary, are you Mary? Mary, as Mary said, what can we be doing? What's England Golf Foundation doing?
I think the more clubs that put on women's academies, you're exactly right. My own personal experiences, like yourself, can't get maybe on a midweek when the main competition day is being held. So you're reliant on a weekend access to make sure that you've got the opportunity to play. There's not many, if you look across the stats and things, it generally is more of an aged sport, and that's where golf sits in terms of most people retire into the sport. They'll do their other sports, maybe get injured, or hopefully pick up the sport once they've maybe competed at elite level at other sports. But in terms of trying to definitely attract more younger women, the academy place is definitely the right direction for clubs to go into, and then it's making sure that there's opportunities to sustain that once you've sort of developed and started to get that confidence to go out on the golf course. So making sure you've got other women, so I guess whether you're doing that initial targeted recruitment from is making sure that you've got a group of girls who are all sort of similar age and things like that, so that you can sort of stick together and grow together as well, because otherwise unfortunately you probably will find that situation.
But it's hard finding that group of girls sometimes, Mia, isn't it?
I actually believe that everyone has a responsibility to help get more people into the game. So we put a lot of pressure on golf clubs, we put a lot of pressure on golf foundations, on England Golf, but it also comes down to you as an individual. You play golf, and you need to influence your sphere of friends and bring them into the game, because you don't wake up one morning and go, I'm going to play golf today. Like, it just doesn't happen. They need someone like you, and you're going to be their closest form of comfort to get into the game, to start learning, start helping. You've got to show them that these academies exist. You've got to show them that you've got these things on in the evening and all of the great things that happen, because without you, they will never know.
Yeah. Alice, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we work with a network of golf clubs that are our accredited golf route centres. Those are really family friendly, they're being creative, want to make it a fun environment for young people, as well as, you know, the modern families that both parents work, and you've just got to try and influence clubs to consider that things are very different these days. There's going to have to be opportunities for everybody at the weekends, and you're going to need to be innovative with the evening options and things like that. And there are some fantastic examples out there where clubs are really going above and beyond to make it an inclusive place for people.
Like what? What good examples can you share?
Oh, am I able to name clubs? Or
Yeah, absolutely. We won't tell anybody. It's only a few hundred of us here. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, across the Midlands where I work, we've got some brilliant examples. Norwood Park Golf Club in Nottinghamshire, for example. The Leicestershire Golf Club really have done some fantastic work, in particular around their juniors the past few years.
Like what?
And
what do they do?
they have... Well, I think the key there is that they have actually created a really strong committee of golfers, parents, young people who work really hard as a group to get younger people from different backgrounds into the game. They've got an academy system in place that any young person can fall into. And this is a club that traditionally was, you know, it's a private members club, has come a long, long way over the past few years to really open their doors. And they've got hundreds of juniors now that take part, and they run some really exciting events through the summer. They've got, juniors actually have a say in how the club is run. They take their junior captain very seriously, and young people can really input to what's going on there. So I think that's really key, actually listening to the voices of young people in golf, not just letting the older committee members that have always been the same types of people running the show. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Rather than children being seen and not heard, but embracing it and listening to everybody and making it more inclusive. Mia, you get to play golf. You know, when we follow you on Instagram, you're all different golf clubs. What have been some of the best golfing experience you've found related to this topic that you're like, wow, this is great. I'm so pleased I play this game?
There's so many things. I play out of Fox Hills down in Surrey, and it's not just like a golf course, it's a resort. So you've got parents, kids, they're coming for their swimming, you've got pitch and putt, you've got 2 courses. Like, it's very easy to be immersed and to see and feel golf and see how people are happy, and everyone's really friendly and everyone's super nice to you. Yeah. And it's very nice when people are nice to you.
But it is that sense of community and bonding, isn't
Yes.
it? You're not just playing to scribble a number on the scorecard and sign your name at the end of it. It is an experience. It's a day out. You're not just going to walk around a golf course for 3.5 hours, pop your clubs in the boot, and off you go again. It is a day, and it is something to be enjoyed. Do we have any other questions or observations? Yes. This. Morning, and well done for sitting at the front table. That was excellent. Very brave.
Thanks very much. Yeah, it's trying to work out in my head because I've got 1 or 2 questions really. But to kick it off, I think it's a bit of a misconception about golf not being elitist anymore. Mm-hmm. And the main reason is because there's so many courses out there now and they're open to anyone really wants to try golf. It's a little bit different to someone going out on a Saturday or Sunday with their pals. Oh yeah, we're in a society. You know what I mean? That's great, right? But once you start playing golf properly and you become good, all of a sudden the rules change. Okay. I'm sitting here now with 2 girls. That's my daughter Sapphire and Amelia. They're 1 and 2 on the under-19. They're only 13. Under-19 Order of Merit on the British Junior Golf Tour this season. They qualified for the World... Well done. They qualified for the World Championship in San Diego last year, and it cost us $6,000 each to get there and let them play. It was a wonderful experience. Well, England Golf and your
Golf Foundation.
Yeah, right. They're all right talking to school children who have never picked a club up before, and I'm all for that, obviously. To get out there, I mean, I still can't believe that you're not into schools by now anyway, with posters up and this, that and the other, which you should be aiming at. But unfortunately, if you're from a council estate, you can enter all these competitions, and then as her coach, Lee Jordan PGA, tells her, the problem you've got is that you're so good for your age, you're going to be invited to play in better tournaments, which is more expensive. You've got to travel abroad, especially nowadays, this, that, and the other. Well, no one tells them that, and no one actually has got a provision to help. Now, when she qualified for the World Championship, Nike spoke to me and explained that she's on their radar, right? But unfortunately, it's now company policy that they don't sponsor girls until they're about 15 or 16. And when I asked why, he floored me with his answer. He went, yeah, boys. And how could I argue? Because I understood exactly what he was saying. They don't sponsor girls of her age anymore because in previous times they have. And when they meet a boyfriend at 14 that don't like golf, they stop playing. And that's the end of it.
Okay, that's on Nike to answer that question for sure.
Exactly. Well, no, it's every sports firm.
Okay.
Right? So, trying to get a sponsor to pay for travel expenses or something like that. One, I was told, well, really, you've got to start playing for England Golf, this, that, and the other. So I inquired, and why is it that England Golf don't recognise any golf tour in this country, apart from county?
Golf tours?
Yeah, any junior golf tour, you don't recognise them. You only recognise the build-up from county, right? So why is that?
In terms of, there's lots of a multitude of tours out there that individuals can set up and run their own businesses to deliver. So in terms of if they're running
I'm on about recognising the results.
recognising the results in terms of into an order of merit or something like that, is that what you mean?
Well, week in, week out, there's junior golfers playing all. I think Stephen Gallagher's got one there in Scotland. Robert Rock, the British Junior Golf Tour. What's it called? What's the other one? US Kids.
So you're talking about...
UK Kids. No, England Golf don't recognise any of them tours. They only recognise county girls. And for our county, which is understandable, because then they've got something to go on, I suppose, but some of the girls playing in county golf can't break 90. So I don't understand it.
Have you spoken to your county You and and what is the okay? I mean, this is a conversation certainly, related to the whole audience that maybe we could take offline and follow up. But you make a good point, and obviously, Lauren is something maybe you can have a conversation about afterwards. Yeah. But looking after everybody, making it a game that's inclusive for all, and I suppose that it does start, Lauren, when you become very good, is it like Sapphire has done, and then that pathway to progressing, to getting the essential funding that we've spoken about. But what is the pathway now? If you're very good, like Sapphire, what is the route?
So in terms of that, it's if you're looking to try and get into the elite programs, there'll be a order of merit, which they'll have recognised competitions that will be stated on the England Golf website, where you'll get your points awarded to. So certain where you finish, you'll get awarded points towards the Order of Merit. And as you progress up that, etc., they'll be looking at how you perform. There's a selection policy, etc., things like that I'm not 100% familiar with myself because I work in more of the development side of things, but I can definitely refer on to a colleague who'll be able to talk more about that.
Yeah. That's really, I like that. I like what you're saying. And I'm not running you down or anything. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's all right teaching these girls, pick up a club and play. But if they get good, mind you, I hope you got a 50 grand Range Rover to park in the car park because that's what it is. Yeah. It's not, it is elitist and it always has been. Yeah. Depending on what level you reach.
I think there's more and more opportunities out there, isn't there, in terms of to play, and sometimes it can be confusing as to which things you should play in, and there's a lot of conflict.
Exactly. Well, I'll give you an example, and then I'll shut up.
Okay. Because we got everybody else.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Right, she's qualified 3 years running for the Irish Champion of Champions, right? But she never goes because I can't afford to get her there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, why don't you guys have a conversation after this? And certainly Lauren can put you in touch with somebody at England Golf that might be able to help you, and also at the county level too. But it's a valid point because I know, Marilyn, when we spoke earlier, you talked about when you first started out in track and field and became very, very good at a young age, that it was that pathway to watching it on television and being inspired. And I want to be that person in Paris next year in 2024. But how do I get there? What are your findings on that?
Such a good point. I am that girl from the council estate. I grew up in Stonebridge Park, behind Wembley Stadium, because people here know that. But I was plucked out and put on scholarship at a school not too far from here in Kings Langley, and that's what opened my eyes to the opportunity. There is that saying, you cannot be what you cannot see. But for me, I was like, I need to be it. And I just had that audacious kind of mentality. And that's why I want to encourage anyone here. If you have a dream or a vision, it's yours, and you deserve to see it through. The pathway, we have lots of clubs in athletics, and I kind of relate to what this gentleman here is saying, because for much of my career, I was not just an athlete. I was working for a charity, and I was a waitress, and you're having to do that grind. For me, because I had that dream and that vision, I just was relentless with it. And it, for me, thankfully, it paid off. There's a lot of athletes, a lot of my friends who were toe-to-toe with me at training, but never made that one vest and never made a penny from sport, and they leave it feeling like a failure. So, the federations, I work with England Athletics on the board and UK Athletics, we talk about this pathway all the time to try and define it. And yes, it does start with grassroots. It starts with education of the clubs, the parents, and everyone feeling like they belong and they can have a seat at the table, their voice can be heard in order to keep the young women engaged. But I think, what Mia was alluding to as well, it's like it's everyone's responsibility, and real role models is something I talk about all the time. I am definitely taking up golf. My coach is right here. But I never felt like I belonged. Like seeing Mary now, I can't wait to hear your story. The Black British golf women, Jocelyn and Fenella. I never knew golf was for black people. So, that's a huge thing. It's just that, finding something you can relate to or someone you can relate to, and then just the education. So it's amazing, an event like this where, he can now connect with the people that can connect him to where he needs to for Sapphire to thrive.
Yeah. So. No, and it's a very, very good point. And I think if you look at some of the golfers teeing it up this week, Georgia Hall, Charlie Hull, they certainly didn't come from privileged backgrounds. Karen Stupples, who's a major champion who I played golf with many years ago, she came from very humble beginnings. But I think it's knowing who to contact, and it's clarifying that pathway. So, Lauren will certainly have a chat with you after this to be able to help, because, wow, if you've got that talent, you want to nurture it and realise its full potential. So thank you very much. Good question.
But I was going to say, I resonate with that so much because I didn't pursue a career in sport because I was never going to earn enough money and I wasn't going to be able to pay my rent. And so I went down a very academic route, and that guts me. It feels like I was never able to follow a passion because the world in which we live in doesn't allow it for women yet. And it's something that needs to be worked on, and it's something that needs more support than ever. And yeah, I think everything you're saying is right, and it's like, how do we get people to invest in women's sport?
Good point. Yes, there's a question here, and there's two questions, so we'll go to both of you. Okay, and we'll come to you, sir, straight after. Yep.
Thank you. I'm Annie Brewster, and I play my golf here.
Oh, great.
And I'm just interested, when I started golf, it seemed to be ladies who perhaps had played as children,
right,
or a bit like Alice, they'd sort of known a grandma or a parent had gotten them into it, or women who'd given up, started when they gave up hockey or tennis or had an injury, like Mia. So I'm just wondering, I don't know whether you all agree, but golf isn't really enjoyable till one's quite good at it. It's quite frustrating to start with.
Oh, yeah.
So do the Foundation or Golf England ever approach other sporting clubs? So like hockey clubs, tennis clubs, people who are perhaps between 20 and 40, as we said, to give them taster sessions, rather than let them wait till they actually retire from that sport?
Yeah. Is there an active campaign by England Golf and the Golf Foundation?
There isn't as such an active campaign, but in terms of how people can get into golf and the recommendations that we would make to golf clubs, it would be to go and speak to your local clubs and understand what's relative in your surrounding your golf club. So if you do have a local hockey club or netball club near to you, it's definitely worth going and having the conversation, because especially with the seasons with the sport, we have a beautiful summer. It's great to be out on the golf course. You can do 9 holes. It's not always about playing 18. So it can fit into those time constraints that sometimes puts people off. It's just about having those conversations, and you might be able to actually form some form of relationship and start that conversation. So absolutely, in terms of our recommendations that we give out to golf clubs and in ways that they can recruit new women into the sport, definitely that would be something that we'd recommend.
Yeah, I mean, we're, as a charity, focusing just on young people and children, but I think the vast majority of us out there would say that actually playing a lot of different sports at a young age is really important. Yeah. So it's not just about focusing on golf. And again, there's been some great examples of where golf clubs have linked up with a local football club, and actually, you know, the children play football through the winter, golf through the summer. And it's a real community feel. They're getting involved in lots of different things, and I think that really does work. And a lot of the recruitment through some of the initiatives that England Golf and ourselves do, it's about, you know, looking at what girl guiding locally has on offer, or some of the local community groups, and making sure that you do try and work with those links and bring golf outside of the golf facilities and to these other people. So yeah.
Okay, good. Great question as well. Yes, gentleman at the back, sporting a very stylish hat. Oh, sorry, I haven't got my contact lenses in. I can't see.
Oh, hi, I'm Jocelyn.
I'm so sorry. I haven't got my contact lenses in. I can't see that far. Sorry, we've got a lovely hat.
Oh, hi, I'm Jocelyn, and as a mature black golfer, I'm sitting here, as I said, at my breakfast table, and it's pleasing to hear all these initiatives, plans, etc., etc. I remain very concerned because there's a high level of racism rampant, even in women's golf. And I want to know, when are we going to address that? Those of us who are mature and who have, in a sense, fought the fight for so many years and made a stance, etc., and so on. What worries me, we are trying to, rightly so, encourage young girls and so on coming in. How many of them would remain? I actually, last year, just actually had to say, enough is enough, and I joined corporate golf. I just had to leave the club. So we have a problem, we have a situation, and nobody seemed to be addressing it. And I wrote something recently in a survey to England Golf. I am hoping that something happens, somebody address something somewhere. We must see something active, Because all these initiatives, all these plans could go to naught if we do bring in young children who would not have the resilience some of us has had to withstand, ignore, walk through, still continue even though they wouldn't have that kind of resilience and they would leave. Yes? So that's my observation. When are we going to be speaking about it, talking about it, making sure that it's an active aspect of the Constitution and, and penalties are incurred? Thank you.
Okay, good observation. Alice, what would you say on behalf of the Golfers Foundation and the work that you're doing to stamp out racism?
Yeah, I'd say, well, thank you very much for sharing that, and I think it is really important to be discussed. I know that England Golf, for example, are doing a lot around their equality, diversity, and inclusion policies. They do an awful lot of hard work around governance, working with golf clubs to make sure that they are continually progressing. One thing that the Golf Foundation is really trying to do is to get out into community groups and provide those who would never get the opportunity to have a go at golf. We work with the holiday activity and food programs, London Youth, and it's about changing perceptions for those young people and people from other communities that actually could then consider going to a golf club. And we work with the golf clubs locally to make sure that they are going to be very welcoming and set up. Unfortunately, there's still a lot out there that aren't engaging with us, and it's not like we're able to conquer this completely in a very short period of time, but we are certainly working really hard on the ground to join up golf clubs with what's going on in real life and real communities around the country, and hopefully that, year on year, we're going to be doing more and more to really improve the situation.
Yeah, clearly there's work to be done. Only a couple of years ago, Muirfield was off the open rota because they wouldn't allow women in to the club. And that had to change in order for them to be allowed to host the Open Championship. But it took, they came dragging and kicking their heels. It took a long time for this change to happen. Marilyn, really interested to hear what you say on this. It's a different sport, golf, to track and field, but you must have faced barriers and challenges along the way as well. And how did you cope, and what do you think needs to be done?
Yeah, different sport, same conversation. I think for me, being the only black girl in a room for many years, I almost, you just code switch and got used to it. But when I got to track and field at the elite level and you had people saying, where are you really from? When I'm wearing the Union Jack, it was like, okay. For me, that's why I fought tooth and nail to get on the board, because I feel like the people making the decisions didn't relate to me. They didn't understand. And athletics is a very well-represented sport, so it made no sense that, big decisions about my life, my body, whether I was going to get to the next championship, which had consequences on funding and, essentially survival in this sport. But it needs to trickle down, and, Jocelyn there just made some great points, because the conversation needs to happen. We can't just keep shying away from it. And actually, I'm hearing a lot of these names of places where these clubs are, but, are the people we're trying to support, are they there? So it's about going into these communities, having fun. Street games is an example I'll give for athletics. And take it to them, make it realistic for them. But again, we have to have these conversations and see real change at board level, and them hearing the voices of the people that it really impacts.
Okay. Change at the top, change at the board level. Lauren?
I was just going to say, in terms of what you spoke about, is it Joyce?
Jocelyn.
Sorry. That we have the Respecting Golf campaign that you were referring to in terms of the survey. Racism should not be happening at all in golf, and that's what all of that campaign is all about. So it's not on that you're having to face that. So it's about reporting that as well to make sure that that sort of thing doesn't happen again. And I'm also going to refer you to Ben, who's our comms director. He's leading on that campaign, so we can also speak to you about that further, but it shouldn't be happening. And that's the importance of what we're doing in terms of our equality, diversity and inclusion strategy and framework, is that there's no place for racism in golf.
Of course. So, Ben, if you put your hand up. Jocelyn, you put your hand up. And we look forward to you two going off and having a drink and a bit of breakfast and continuing that conversation, because it's an important conversation that needs to be had. But we're now going to come to the front of the audience, because we have a couple of questions here from our younger audience who's written notes. Goodness me, I'm excited to see what this question is. Very, very good indeed. Do we have a microphone? If not, I'll come down. Okay, what's your question?
What is one of your biggest weaknesses, and what are you doing to overcome it?
Okay, Mia, what's your biggest weakness and what are you doing to overcome it? Great question. What's your name?
Kira.
Kira. And how old are you, Kira?
I'm 11.
And do you play golf?
Not really.
Do you think you might play golf after listening to these ladies speak?
Yes, I do.
Great. Okay, Kira, that's a good step in the right direction. Okay, so Kira's question. What are your weaknesses and how are you overcoming them? Mia.
Wow, that is a really hard question. What's my biggest weakness? I have a lot of weaknesses.
Any of you, if any of you feel you're ready to go. Kira's put you on the spot here. That's the best question we've had this morning. Go on.
Should I go first?
Yeah.
So as a track and field athlete, you are very self-aware. So my biggest weakness right now, I'd say, because I'm retired, is saying no. Because I was fueled by no for so long, and I was like, I'm going to prove them wrong. They said I can't do this, I'm going to do it. But actually, that was great to a point. Then it can turn a little bit toxic, and then I say yes to everything, and I overcommit. So for me, it's just boundaries and knowing when something isn't serving me, and it's actually okay to say no, because I'm preserving my energy and my motivation. So that's one of them.
Okay, good point. Any other weaknesses that you are overcoming?
I don't particularly like public speaking, so for me doing this today is like wow.
Well done. Well done for being up here. Okay, that's brilliant, Lauren.
Here in the world, so well done.
So I think just sometimes you have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions to make you feel more comfortable. So don't be afraid, and sometimes as well you're with nice people, so it makes it a lot easier. So
yeah, you get to make new friends as well. Okay. Have we got time? Because there's another girl here who's got a great question, who's had her arm up for a while. Okay. I'll nip down.
I'm weak at answering.
Okay, right. I'll come and sit down with you. What's your name? How old are you? And what's your question?
So my name is Grace, and I'm 11 years old. And my question is, so when you began doing your sport, was there an in particular person who inspired you, and how?
Excellent question. The best questions are coming from the 11-year-olds this morning, okay? But no, they're all good questions. But this is a particularly good one. Well done. Grace, do you play golf?
Not much, but I sometimes play on the Nintendo Switch Sports.
Okay. Brilliant. There's many different forms of golf. It doesn't have to be a traditional round of 18 holes. Okay, good question from Grace. So who inspired you to take up the game? Alice, you seem quite keen to answer that one.
I was going to say, yeah, I've already mentioned that it was my grandma that got me into it, but I started my golf at Chevin Golf Club in Derbyshire, where Melissa Reid also started playing.
Oh, yeah.
So she was a few years older than me, but certainly a role model that I looked up to when I started playing there.
Okay, so Mel Reid, a winner, a Solheim Cup star, a winner on the LET and also the LPGA, so that's a very good role model. Mia?
I think the problem was when I started golf, I didn't know anyone in golf. And so I didn't even know who to look up to be inspired by. I didn't know what a good golf swing looked like. And so I needed someone to bridge the gap for me. And because the inspiration wasn't there yet, I was like, okay, what do I need from someone? I want someone who shows me cool clothing. I want someone to show me how to start your golf swing. And if you haven't got an inspiration yet, you can still be your own inspiration and the inspiration for your future friends or future people who are going to look up to you.
Yeah. Excellent point. Marilyn, who was your inspiration?
So I probably have 4. First of all, my first coach, he really saw something in me. He told me at 10, you could go to the Olympics. And I was like, what is that? But sure, because you believe in me. So, and he was there to give me the tools and the support to get there. My other role model was my mum. She was the complete opposite. She said, I didn't send you to school to run, read your book. So I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I don't define my mum, but in this case, I'm going to make her proud. And then my PE teacher as well. Mrs. Phillips, I'll never forget her, and she was like, go to running club. And I was like, why? I'm already good at running. But, she was connecting me with George. And finally, it wasn't in my sport because I wasn't really in that environment, but I saw Serena Venus Williams playing tennis, and I was like, that's the mindset I need. And they were unapologetically themselves, and I related. And so those were the 4 sort of influences that really inspired me.
Okay, great role models. Amazing the difference having a good coach can make, and a good local golf professional, such an important person at a golf club, as a point of reference and the person to meet to inspire you. We have time, I've been told, for 2 more questions. We're going to take one more. I know there was a hand going up here, and there's a 2. Okay, I will come down. I would definitely come down, and then we'll come around to your question next. Hello, what's your name? How old are you? And do you play golf?
My name is Princess, and I'm 11 years old, and no, I don't play golf.
Yet? Might you try after this?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well, Princess is going to take up the game now, so that's good news. Okay, good. We'll introduce you to Lauren and Alice, and they'll find ways for you to pick up a club. Okay, what's your question, Princess?
So my question is that what year did you start golf, and what inspired you to do it?
Okay. Were you young when you played golf, and why? We've touched a little bit on why you play, but how? I mean, Mia, you were quite old really when you took up the game, weren't you? Because you only played about 5 minutes.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that.
But relatively
25,
speaking,
25, really old.
Well, but because you haven't been playing that long, but 25. To achieve what you have already at only 28 it's a meteoric rise in golf. Mia shot 6 over a few weeks ago at Warpleston Golf Club. So that's a 78. That's an epic rise up the golfing ladder, and it's a lot of that from watching golf on YouTube and just asking for tips, asking for advice.
Yeah, so I actually have a lot of friends on tour, and I have an album in my phone called Golf Swings. And I will sit and watch them in slow-mo, and I've got Anne Van Dan to send me loads, and I just watch them so much, and I try and copy, and it's a really good way to learn.
And actually, that's a really good point, because we're having this conversation inside. Outside, there is a Ladies European Tour event happening. But the difference with the Ladies European Tour, and Mia and myself can certainly attest this, these players are so approachable. And you can go and watch them on the range before they play. If you have the chance over the next couple of days, do come along. There's tea times this afternoon. So you have the opportunity to go and see what they are doing. How are they improving their game? And you can approach them, not before the round, but there will be clinics at tournaments like this. Make the most. You have to do the work yourself, don't you, as well? Put yourself out there and ask the questions, because they would be delighted to help the next generation. That's one of the beauties of this Ladies European Tour. So it's a good place that you've come to. The final, we've got so many questions, but I've been told we've got to wrap it up. But we've got one more question here at the back.
So we've talked about obviously getting girls into golf, and there's a bit of a gap between the 20 and kind of 40 mark. Now, I played a lot as a junior, and as a junior, I got quite a lot of support and really enjoyed the game. And then I got to end of junior golf and into ladies golf, and then there didn't seem to be, a lot of my friends went off to uni, or you'd go on to play a bit more serious in terms of going on tour. But how do we bridge that gap between people who, I guess, want to play at that elite level and people that just want to keep playing, but obviously their friends aren't around anymore because they go off and do other things? So I stopped for many years, and I'm now trying to get back into it. And I think it's where we've seen that gap. How do we fill that gap of people who have started playing but then want to continue?
What's your name and which golf club?
Hattie.
Hattie?
Yeah.
And which golf club are you at?
Caversham.
Caversham. Okay, is that near here?
I'm in Reading.
Okay, right. So Hattie's question, there's a void, is there, at the age of 18? As you say, off to university, off to travel maybe, or go to work?
Yeah. I can totally relate to that as well. So you have a real structured environment when you're growing up in juniors. There's loads of opens, and then when you get into more on the women's side of things, it's probably midweek opportunities, and there's maybe not so many people to go and play at weekends. So we're doing a real big push at the moment in terms of making sure that weekend access is available for women in terms of getting out on the golf course, and there's alternate day competitions in place for them, because unfortunately still there's quite a few golf clubs that don't really have that in place. So there's policies that we've already answered every possible question in terms of whether pin position's moving and all that type of thing, where clubs can adopt it to help bridge some of that. So there's a real good and strong emphasis in terms of what's on offer at your club, but then also there needs to be a bit more of a push, and it's my personal view, in terms of counties as well, and making sure that there's more opportunity over a weekend, not just midweek, especially if you're working and having to take annual leave days off, to make sure that there's opportunity in that next step in the pathway for sure. So
yeah, I think it was very different from going, because I played county and everything, so I was okay. I played really well. But then going, I guess I played a lot of different courses when I was doing that. And I guess going back to club level, then you've got obviously the slightly older generation that maybe don't have such a low handicap. So it's kind of knowing actually who can I play with that's at that level of me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of like online communities as well. There's Yvonne Brooke runs the Ladies Golf Lounge and places like that, where they're fantastic in terms of connecting people as well. I'm sure some arms in the air, so yeah, must be some fellow LGLs on the room. But yeah, in terms of that, it's about connecting, and I think that is the one beauty of social media as well, is that you can make that connection with people that aren't necessarily in your club. I moved clubs to go and play with people of my own age and sort of similar standard as well, because I didn't have that where I was growing up originally. So sometimes that may have to happen too.
Okay.
I can say, I think one of the biggest problems is meeting people, and where do I meet people? That's probably it, more than a golf course being available. And I got so many DMs from so many girls being like, Mia, how do I meet people? Where are the girls in London? Or where are the girls across the country? And I'm like, girl, that is a really good question, because I have no idea either. And that's when I started doing my pitch event. So basically what happened was I went to so many golf courses and tried to pitch an idea whereby we could have the whole range and get people to play, and you can be any level of golfer and they'll provide clubs. And it was so hard. You have no idea. Like, everyone was just like, no, what's the point? And I had to go through so many hurdles until there's this one venue called Pitch in London, which is like a golf simulator space. It's got drinks, it's very community driven, it's got golf clubs, you can wear whatever you want. And that's when I had the first event, and I just got all these girls who were under 35 to come and meet people. And for me, a win from that event was them creating a WhatsApp group and then deciding to go play golf. It wasn't them playing golf necessarily, but it was how can they meet it? And then off the back of that, like Adidas, is a great brand. They've seen it, they've been inspired by it, and they're now hosting events across the whole of the year. They're doing a full-on academy, getting people started into the game, supporting them. And it's things like that, which is kind of like a proof of concept to showcase that there are people wanting it. And it does work. And then you need the people who actually have responsibility of a brand and the money to put it on. Because I'm only like a 28-year-old girl, and I can only do so much, and I don't have millions of pounds in the bank. And I can only do what I can do when people allow me.
It's an excellent point, and there's clearly so much work to be done, judging by the questions. I know you've got a question, but no, the big boss at the back is saying... Yeah. Okay, what we will do, though, we can see that there's a lot of people interested in what our panellists have to say. So, ladies, can you stay for a bit?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what they can do, Mia, Lauren, Marilyn and Alice can stay and answer more questions and facilitate more conversations, because there's lots of answers out there still to be done. There's clearly a lot of work to be done, but Golf Saudi and Aramco are really pleased that you could join us today for what has been fascinating. There's people that are happy, people that, there was work that needs to be done. But we can all agree that golf is a unifier, and it's a force for good. And there's many different forms and different ways of playing, whether you're young and old, and we need to embrace more diverse backgrounds to take up the game. But all the good questions, Grace, Kira, Princess, Hattie, Jocelyn, all those great questions are from you, sir, as well. But thank you very much indeed to our panelists, to Alice, to Marilyn, to Lauren, and to Mia. Thank you for your insights. Please stay. Please keep talking. And please also enjoy the golf, which is happening out here, not just today, but Saturday and Sunday. And thank you, the audience, for making it the event that it has been and for joining us in this conversation as we do inspire the next generation. So please give yourself a big round of applause. Thank you. Enjoy the hospitality, enjoy the day, and thanks for being part of the Aramco Team Series London.